Guys, Monster Jam has changed. The Crush cars are gone, the Rivalries are gone, the tracks all look the same, and somewhere between the brandless trucks and the copy-paste tracks, Monster Jam quietly shifted from that ragged edge to something that feels sanitized. Something that once felt rebellious now feels like it's conforming to society. So guys, today we're breaking down how Monster Jam fell off, why so many longtime fans are frustrated, and whether this thing could actually be saved. We've had so much engagement on this topic already on the channel. Go ahead and drop a subscribe if you're with us on this, and let's get into the video. If you've watched Monster Jam over the last 15 to 20, really 25 to 30 years, you know there was a time it felt dangerous, but in the right way. Gravedigger versus Max D, Jim Kohler in Adventure, Jimmy Cretin in Bounty Hunter. Hey, like the video for the OG Bounty Hunter callout. And even later on, names like Cam McQueen and Todd LeDuc just throwing it all out on the track for the crowd. These were big personalities, real rivalries, older trucks being pushed to the edge, and drivers showing out for the fans every single weekend. Even racing was something we wanted to watch because it was about our favorite personalities skirmishing behind the wheel. Yes, I actually wrote that. Now it just feels like Gravedigger or Son of a Digger going out there and ripping in a field of kids trucks and brand concepts, with drivers rotating in and out almost like rental cars. The unspoken rivalry era died when Tom Meents stepped away and Max D abruptly left the spotlight in either 2024, I think it was 2024, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Right now, there's no young gun with his own identity going head-to-head with Tyler Menninga every weekend. No, this dude wants to take the crown storyline that builds over a full season. And that's the number one problem. Monster Jam stopped feeding the drama, as ridiculous as that sounds. Not cringy WWE drama, but real, respectful, on and off track rivalry that pushed the sport to be better and more fun. Right now, I feel like fans want a young gun in his own truck, his own brand, genuinely trying to beat Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger head to head every single weekend. Instead, we get drivers jumping between trucks and storylines that never get a chance to build. It seems like as soon as a truck stops selling t-shirts, it's gone. You know, we don't have that young Dennis Anderson arc where he was wrenching on the truck, innovating the sport, and trying to put on for the crowd at the same time just to load back up into his semi-truck and get back to Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, from the change in his pocket. You know, we don't have that feeling of like, wow, that if it wasn't for that one t-shirt sale, he wouldn't have got home. It's hard to care who wins when the trucks feel more interchangeable than iconic. Then we get the thing almost every old school fan brings up. No Crush cars. No cars, no vans, no buses, no campers, no semi-trailers. I do suppose we have shipping containers for backflips, but they literally don't crush. One of you even dropped a comment on here saying, my biggest complaints, no Crush cars and shutting them off for simple breaks that don't actually pose a safety threat, which we will get into the second part later. But what I'm getting at is watching a monster truck flatten 10 fresh cars or drive right through a motorhome is what hooked most of us as kids. It made the trucks look massive, violent, and alive. It also let drivers develop real personalities, some leaning into absolute destruction from their driving style, and others into more of a technical precision, ragged edge, which is what I really love myself. Today, most tracks are just dirt pads and pre-made obstacles with a real lack of soul. And when you finally do start to see something wild, in reference to the comment I just read, shutoff switch, show's over. Fans remember trucks finishing runs with broken axles, flat tires, you know, the whole body being gone, and still sending it for the crowd. Just take a quick look at Tom Meents' 2004 World Finals freestyle run. The real ones will know. Now, even a small failure seems to end the run instantly. What you're seeing here would have never happened in the past. Health and safety absolutely matter. Nobody's saying they don't, but when you build an entire brand on chaos, then remove all the chaos, what do you expect people to feel? That's really a great question. The next big issue is this. Monster Jam used to be trucks designed to survive treacherous tracks. Now it feels like tracks are designed to keep the trucks safe. Multiple people also left comments over the last few Monster Jam videos that said the same thing in different ways. Quote, "The tracks don't have the same simplicity as they used to. Most tracks each year are the same 90% of the time. Back in the day, the obstacles were so much bigger compared to now," which I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I think they were more insane. They were more unpredictable than what they are now. But I get the point in principle. Stadium tours run basically the same track all season, copy and pasted from city to city. They have the same ramps and the same layout. The only real exception is the World Finals. In the 2000s and early 2010s, and really up into, I almost want to say 2018, which is, that's about 8 years ago, those tracks were more unique, more sketchy, more unpredictable. That forced drivers to improvise. Trucks weren't built to be safe on a pre-planned layout. They were built to survive, or not survive, whatever insane track the crew had laid out. And I want to say that again, which ties into the first part of this segment. The trucks were built to survive or not survive. The tracks were not built for the trucks, and I think that is probably my biggest issue with today. They used to stack cars up and build little dirt jumps, and then the trucks were built to go out there and put on a show. Now the track is built for the truck to put on a show, and I think Monster Jam loses its edge right there is really the point of this section of the video. Now you can almost see the digital track layout in your head. Everything is engineered around consistency and choreography instead of risk and creativity. And I think the concept of Monster Jam University is proof to that. Drivers go to Paxton, Illinois to practice stoppies, backflips, and other skill maneuvers, which leads really well into our next point. Monster Jam has shifted from that ragged edge to more of choreographed exhibitions is what it feels like to me. Instead of a driver just letting loose behind the wheel, you can almost see pre-planned combos being set up. And in itself, I don't really love the word combos either. This is not like freestyle motocross. We don't have it makes it feel like a video game when you say combos, but they have been saying that for a long time, so. This is where I may differ from a lot of you, but I personally don't like the skill challenges at all. Some of you mentioned certain things you dislike about them, but for me, it's the whole concept. I like going to a Monster Jam event, watching some good racing, and then seeing the drivers let it all hang out in freestyle. Personally, I'd rather have longer freestyle runs or multiple freestyle runs instead of skill competitions, but that's just me. If skill competitions make the event for you, drop a comment below and say, brother, you're wrong. Then there's the look and the sound of the trucks themselves. You guys brought this up a lot in the comments. There's a standardized chassis, a wave of trucks that feel built for kids, and then fans second. And one notable comment was no zoomy headers, which I had to ask for some clarification, but I know exactly what he's talking about now. Here's the quote. "What I miss is zoomy headers, the ability to design a truck without a rule book. FELD, which is I'm assuming the company that owns Monster Jam, wants the trucks all the same. Before it didn't matter. Whoever had the best motor, shock setup, transmission setup. That's why I give respect to Team Bigfoot. They didn't want to be a part of Monster Jam for a reason." Right now, you've got trucks like Sparkle Smash, Classroom Crusher, Thunder Roarus, and the Robot Dog Truck, clearly aimed at kids and clearly marketing decisions. There is nothing wrong with having kid-friendly trucks. However, I beg the question, what part of Gravedigger isn't kid-friendly? Another one of the comments that really hit it spot on the head, or drove the nail into the head, whatever you say. Monster Jam used to be for the whole family. Now it's just about the kids. And that really means a lot to me because, yeah, you used to have the whole family excited to go to Monster Jam, and now it's just like I don't know, man. Sparkle Smash throws me off, really. That's what this whole segment is about. I don't know why we have to have a pink unicorn monster truck. It's pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. Like, what happened to Candace Jolly and the Monster Mutt Dalmatian? Perfectly aimed at kids, you know? I'd even say it's a little soft, but Monster Mutt's an OG truck, and I don't know, I don't think it's that little kiddish, but Sparkle Smash just takes it too far. On top of that, they removed the classics like Blue Thunder or Pablo Huffbaker's Blacksmith. Yes, I remember that truck, one of my absolute favorites. Love the body style. Those had a really cool grounded identity. Now, a lot of the fleet looks like toy concepts that a Fortune 500 company came up with versus people actually rooted in Monster Jam's culture. And without the zoomy headers, the physical build differences, or the freedom for teams to experiment with unique setups, the trucks feel more uniform than ever. Less character, less uniqueness, and back to that theme, less soul. That's where I have to shout out Team Scream. You can tell their whole fleet is unique and different from what I believe is the standard CRD monster truck chassis. Just look at Avenger, Mayhem, or Spike. You can see the variation immediately, which makes the sport feel so much more alive. When Spike or Mayhem or Jim Kohler and Avenger comes out, those trucks feel... there's a level of independence to them, and there's a level of personality attached to the truck, which I think is super important, which I believe is our last point. So yeah, we have to talk about drivers and trucks and the combination of them and their identity. Monster trucks used to be glued to their drivers. You didn't just cheer for Gravedigger, you cheered for the specific Gravedigger driver. If it wasn't Dennis, it was Charlie Pauken or Pablo Huffbaker. Same thing with Max D. Neil Elliott was just as good as Tom Meents, and as much as I always wanted to see Tom Meents live, I was just as happy with Neil Elliott because he had his whole own story to him, in my opinion. Now drivers are constantly swapping trucks. Someone in the comments said they wish drivers would just stay in one truck instead of constantly rotating. That's because fans build a bond with the driver and the truck as a package. When you break that constantly, it really kills momentum. I thought this next spot was a beautiful quote that I wanted to throw in here. It's hard to build heroes and villains when everyone's wearing a different mask every few months. I just thought that that was a really perfect way to characterize what's going on. You know, if you had a superhero movie and the superhero and the supervillain were constantly switching the masks and the roles, you wouldn't understand what was going on. And that's what Monster Jam feels like right now. Monster Jam badly needs a new generation of real rivalries. A couple of young drivers with their own brands taking on Tyler Menninga and the Anderson legacy week after week, creating long-term storylines the fans can actually follow and get immersed in the sport with. Right now, the lineup of trucks and drivers feels wide, but it lacks real depth. And that depth is exactly what us fans are craving. To be fair, it's definitely not all negative, and I definitely like to be a drama queen about it. Some of you pointed out that arena shows have actually improved. Production is bigger. The small buildings get more technical action than they used to. Some tracks still hit hard. There's still insane talent behind the wheel. For instance, I've been watching a ton of Tyler Menninga, and also Joe Fawley. I know there's so many more names, but just those two right there are unlike anything we've ever seen in the sport, so I have to give them credit. And when the rules step back just a little, you see flashes of what Monster Jam could be. And of course, safety is not the enemy. Nobody wants to see these drivers getting seriously hurt so we can have one more backflip. But there's a difference between correcting obvious dangers and sanding all the edges off the entire show. Right now, Monster Jam feels like it overcorrected for a problem that wasn't there to begin with. Over-engineered tracks, over-the-top challenges, overprotective shutoffs, over-focus on kids marketing, and under-focus on rivalries and raw monster truck action. So did Monster Jam die? Absolutely not. And after making an entire negative video on it, I actually think it's in a very great spot. I think we're primed for a brand new generation of drivers to take the sport where we want it to go. I just think right now it's a little cold. So again, I'll ask, did Monster Jam die? No. But is it the same Monster Jam people fell in love with? Also no. The unfortunate truth is this. Monster Jam traded a big chunk of its identity for scalability, safety, and brand control. They made the trucks more similar, they made the tracks more similar, they made the show more predictable. And let me say that again, they made the show more predictable. I think that's like the underlying theme of this video. And for a new kid seeing it for the first time, it still might be the coolest thing they've ever seen. But for us kids, now grown men, which there is nothing wrong with that, but for us kids who remember crushed cars, campers, zoomy headers, huge sketchy jumps, broken trucks, campers being brought out in the middle of freestyle, campers being brought out on semi-truck beds, water fountains at world finals, broken trucks limping through the last 10 seconds of a freestyle run, and rivalries that actually meant something, this version feels like a watered down sequel. Can it be saved? I think it can, but it will take actual risk from the top. And what I mean by that is an investment in rivalries, real capital going into these things. Lock drivers into trucks and let stories build, even if they aren't pre-planned or with the status quo. Relax some of the rules that punish creativity behind the wheel. I think this would be so sick. Hire a track design crew and give them freedom to build cool stuff and see how it goes. How awesome would that be to watch YouTube videos of, guys like me designing the tracks and then watching how they unfold in the stands or in the stadiums? That would be freaking sweet. Bring back crushed cars, campers, 2 to 3 stacks around the track. It does not have to be a used car lot. And honestly, I think this would be another really cool point. Get drivers on social media building fan bases beyond the track. I had the pleasure of meeting Tyler Menninga at King of the Hammers 2025, and every time I see a clip of him driving now, I feel so much more connected to him, and I feel that I'm rooting for him more often, and I'd be way more inclined to wear a Gravedigger t-shirt because I feel connected to him. I met him, but he keeps up with me on social media, which is really cool. And I think if we saw that out of more drivers, we'd feel more connected to the sport. Monster trucks are supposed to be rebellious. They're supposed to dance on that line between a clean run and a total yard sale. What we all know is that ragged edge. Right now, it feels like Monster Jam is chasing that polished, finished product, but in doing so, it feels like it really lost that edge. So guys, that's my take on the overall decline of Monster Jam, but of course I want to hear yours. This is not just a channel, it's a community for extreme sports. Is Monster Jam actually worse now, or are we just nostalgic for the old days? Am I being a 27-year-old crybaby? Are crushed cars, zoomy headers, and campers a must-have, or are they just symbols for a bigger problem? What's the one change you'd make tomorrow if you were in charge? For me, of course, it's the crushed cars. Guys, be sure to check out our Lucker's Skills series. It should be here on the screen somewhere. I really think you'll like them, and I'll see you at a Monster Jam event very, very soon. Thank you for watching.